Also suggested that I follow up with a text message that I gave him a command. I gave him the answer. I said, do not make any decisions when you are angry, frustrated, tired, hungry, or upset. And so he did it. Again, occasionally we need to step in, and we are called to step into each other's lives with authority. And that was a perfect example, because after he calmed down and we got everything sorted out, when we had a chance to meet with him face to face, what happened was that Evan really misunderstood what was going on. And I suggested that he apologize to the two guys that he unfairly accused. Well, what happened was the sergeants took Evan's complaints to heart, and they were going to release the two guys from the program. I mean, these are career-affecting decisions. This is a way that we affect each other's lives. This is, again, more in your face. But what ultimately, because Evan moved to a better place, he moved to a place of being able to give hope and encouragement to the situation as opposed to cursing the situation. And he basically went to the sergeants and said, I was wrong. And the next day in training, they grilled Evan again. They grilled Evan for a number of times where they were saying, tell us again why we shouldn't get rid of these guys. And you see, what was interesting to me about that was God, through the training sergeants, were cementing in Evan's mind saying good things about his fellow Marines as opposed to focusing on their infractions against him. Because he had to, the process called on him to continually go back and say, tell us again why we shouldn't let these guys go. And what Evan had to do was he had to go back and say, because they're good for morale, they're good squared away Marines, they do what they're supposed to do, you know, they have the right attitude, they have the right heart. He had to defend them. And they kept it. That was 2 months ago, and those guys are still in the program. In fact, they moved from that, where they were from that group that they were in, and they classed up to the basic recon force. So, the takeaway to that is we are here to shepherd the transformation in others. And I'm talking about what the conversations I had with Evan, but also the conversations that Evan had to do with the other Marines. Because what ultimately happened was, because Evan pursued this relationship with the other guys, they actually came to Evan and apologized for screwing up and for taking away his liberty. And what we noticed, see, prior to that weekend, when Evan had liberty over the weekend, he was always off by himself. He'd catch the bus and he'd go off base and he'd go to dinner by himself and stuff like that to get away from the barracks. But after that weekend, every weekend, Evan spent with another one of the guys in his program. And they were off doing things together. It was an important step for him. But it was a lesson in community. See, again, we're not in this alone. Evan is not, our Heavenly Father is not trying to torture us. The recon sergeants that are running these guys through the training program are not there to destroy their lives. They want them to pass. They just want them to be trained. they want them to be mentally prepared for whatever mission that they have. And so we have to realize that when God is training certain things into us, his purpose is not to destroy us. And so when we recognize this stuff that he's trying to train into us and the stuff that he's trying to get out of us, we do not, we will more have a tendency to go along with the program. And when we start going along with the program, we start to see God's mighty hand working. Because really, and I was having a conversation with someone else about this, God never beats us up on the side of the head. Really, a lot, if you look back over the times that God has intervened in your life, it'll probably be kind of like what I've experienced, where he just kind of nudges us. You know, it's just like a boop. You know, it's not like bam, and you're knocked across the room and you're out of commission for like 16 years and stuff like that. It's usually, he just sort of pokes us. And suddenly everything comes into focus because we've changed our perspective. One of the corollaries to this takeaway of shepherding transformation of others, and it's necessary for us as a community, is I've also noticed that we are terrible at detecting change in ourselves. We can't. We sit there and we're just going, I've been dealing with this same problem for years and years and years and years. It just won't go away. And it takes someone else to come in and say, no, your reaction has been totally different in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 days, whatever. We are horrible at figuring out where we are. And it really takes someone from the outside. And this is one of the reasons why God put us in the community. Another takeaway from this community aspect of it is that, and one of the, I started reading this book that was written, it's called The Heart and the Fist. It was written by an ex-Navy SEAL who ironically went to Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. And he graduated and he got all these high-powered offers. He actually got an offer to continue at Oxford as a teacher or a professor or become a high-priced consultant to business. But then he ran across, and I don't know how he did it. He talked to a Navy SEAL, and he figured out that that was what he wanted to do. So he gave all that up and went and became a Navy SEAL. And he obviously didn't regret it. But he says in this book, at officer candidate school, our drill instructor used to say, lead from the front or get the H out of the way. And now he's at SEAL training, which is as difficult, hellish, I don't know what you would call it. Running with soft sand down the beach, our boat bouncing on our heads, we're carrying the same zodiacs. I realized that what the warrant officer had said, which was true, but it wasn't the whole truth. He was right, of course, the officers would watch closely, and he was right that we had to be in the front, and that we had to set an example. But he was wrong about this training being harder for officers. What Warren Green didn't tell me, but what I came to learn was that when you are leading, it can in fact be easier. For fear to take a hold of you, it needs to be given room to run in your mind. As a leader, all the room in your mind is taken up by focus on your men.